On August 10, 2018, a man named Richard Russell did something that stunned the world. In what was a chaotic and breathtaking sequence of events that would leave the world questioning everything it thought it knew about freedom, desperation, and the human spirit. Was it a suicide? A rebellion? Or something far deeper? An audacious quest for meaning in a world that often feels suffocating? Hey there, and welcome to Typical Stories, the channel where the ordinary becomes extraordinary and every tale, whether it's mind-blowing, hilarious, or downright unbelievable, finds its place in the spotlight. From the weirdest facts to the most unexpected twists in everyday life, we've got something for everyone. So buckle up, hit that subscribe button, and let's dive into today's story. On August 10, 2018, a man named Richard Russell did something that stunned the world. In what was a chaotic and breathtaking sequence of events that would leave the world questioning everything it thought it knew about freedom, desperation, and the human spirit. Was it a suicide? A rebellion? Or something far deeper? An audacious quest for meaning in a world that often feels suffocating? This is the story of Richard Russell, a man whose name would become synonymous with an extraordinary act of defiance, freedom, and mystery. But beyond the headlines, what was the truth about the man behind the hijacking? Richard Russell, a 29-year-old ground service agent for Horizon Air, had the kind of life that many would consider mundane. He worked at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport, assisting with baggage handling, loading cargo, and other behind-the-scenes jobs that kept flights running smoothly. His life was defined by routine, early mornings, long shifts, and late-night conversations with fellow workers. Outwardly, Russell appeared like any other employee. He was quiet, personable, and unremarkable. His friends and co-workers described him as friendly, if a bit introverted. Nothing about his demeanor screamed danger. In fact, few could have guessed that the unassuming young man was harboring a profound sense of internal conflict. At home, he had a wife, a stable marriage, and the quiet comforts of suburban life. Yet, there were cracks in this seemingly perfect existence. Russell had recently gone through some personal turmoil. His marriage was strained, his job felt repetitive, and there was a sense that something was missing. His co-workers noticed it. He seemed distracted, as though the weight of an invisible burden was bearing down on him. But nobody could have predicted what would happen next. It was a typical afternoon in August when Richard Russell walked onto the tarmac of Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. No one thought much of it. The airport was a bustling hub, with planes coming and going, passengers rushing through terminals, and ground crews performing their routines. Russell was just another worker among many. But then, something strange happened. In a quiet, almost imperceptible moment, Richard Russell stole an aircraft, a 2018 Bombardier Q400, a turboprop plane that was used for short regional flights. He didn't force his way into the cockpit. He didn't wrestle with anyone. He simply took off. The authorities were shocked. How could an ordinary airport worker, with no formal flight training, hijack an airplane without anyone noticing? But Russell had an edge. He knew the airport better than anyone. He had access to the equipment. He knew the protocols. And most importantly, he knew how to think like a ghost, unseen, unnoticed, a fleeting presence. As soon as Russell was airborne, he made an eerie radio transmission. To the air traffic controllers, he sounded calm, almost eerily so. "I'm just a broken guy. I've got a lot of people that care about me. It's just, I've got a little bit of a broken heart." His words echoed across the airwaves, chilling in their quiet vulnerability. It was as if he was talking not to the controllers, but to some distant audience. The sense that something deeply personal was unfolding in that moment was undeniable. The plane climbed higher into the sky, and the world began holding its breath. For the next hour, Richard Russell flew the plane, his movements both erratic and deliberate. He performed loops, barrel rolls, and high-speed turns, executing maneuvers that would have been considered impossible for someone without formal flight training. He confessed that he was just messing around, and that he didn't have a specific destination in mind. Yet, his words were disjointed, and there was a clear sense of someone teetering on the edge of reason. To the untrained eye, it might have looked like a desperate attempt to find release, to push the boundaries of what was physically and mentally possible. But there was something deeper at play. There were moments of clarity in his voice, moments where it seemed like Richard was reflecting on the very nature of life itself. In one chilling moment he even said, "I'm just a guy who wanted to make a little bit of a difference, you know? Maybe not in the way you guys wanted, but I did it." The control tower was in constant communication with him, trying to coax him down, to talk him out of his madness. But Richard wasn't responding to the words. They didn't matter. In his mind, he wasn't a man at all. He was a bird, a free spirit, no longer tethered to the earthly chains that had bound him to a life of ordinary mediocrity. As the flight continued, Richard's state of mind seemed to shift between playful and deeply reflective. He began to make cryptic statements, expressing his desire for an escape from the pressures of life, but also admitting that he didn't know how to navigate the emotional terrain of his decision. Then, just as suddenly as the flight began, it ended in a tragic yet inevitable way. The plane spiraled downward into an uninhabited area of Ketron Island, crashing and bursting into flames. Richard Russell's story is not one of a simple hijacking. It is a story of rebellion, of breaking free from the invisible chains that bind us to the mundane, the ordinary, and the predictable. It is a story of a man grappling with the weight of his own existence, and ultimately making a statement that no one could ignore. While some may see his actions as reckless or selfish, others have argued that it was an expression of profound desperation, a cry for meaning in a world that often feels empty. Russell was not seeking to harm anyone, nor was he trying to send a political message. His actions were personal, deeply personal. He wanted to be seen, to feel alive, to break free from the mental cages he had built for himself. In the aftermath, the world speculated. Was it a form of protest? A commentary on the suffocating pressures of modern life? Or was it something simpler, just the act of a man trying to find his own way out of a life that no longer made sense? Richard Russell's flight might have lasted only an hour, but the ripples of his actions continue to resonate. The incident left the world grappling with questions that were difficult to answer. Was it the act of a hero or the act of a broken man? Was it an expression of human vulnerability or an outright defiance of life's constraints? In the years since, Richard Russell's name has become a symbol for those who feel trapped in the prison of their own lives, people who long to break free, even if only for a moment. He remains a figure of mystery, a symbol of the search for freedom in an increasingly complex world. But perhaps, at the end of it all, Richard Russell was just a man looking for a moment of transcendence, a fleeting taste of what it might feel like to fly, truly fly, without anything holding him back. In the end, maybe that's all we really want. To break free from the mundane. To find the freedom to soar. In the aftermath of the crash, investigators found no signs of foul play, and Russell's actions were ruled as a tragic yet isolated incident. But for some, the story of Richard Russell is far from over. His act of flying, however fleeting, resonates as a symbol of what it means to seek a life beyond the ordinary, even if that quest comes with a cost. Well, there you have it, another typical story in the books. What did you think? Surprised? Entertained? Or just left thinking, well, that was typical? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and share with someone who needs a good story. And hey, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to keep up with all the crazy, unexpected tales we've got coming your way. Until next time, keep it typical.